Okay, so today I'm going to be going over a board that has no backlight, most likely because of a defective backlight coil. So if you've been wearing any of those silly t-shirts that say it's never the coil, this is going to be the second video in which I explain to you why it is you need to take that t-shirt and throw it away. So as you can see here, I'm going to turn this board on, and let's show you how the coil is what's at fault here. The coil is what's broken, and the coil is what you need to replace to fix your problem. So, as you can see on the table, I have a screen, and as you can see that this screen here has no backlight on it because of a defective backlight coil. So, if I take the multimeter and I put the multimeter right over here, and then I go to measure voltage. So let's go over here where you can see the microscope, and let's move the backlight coil into plain view. And then I go over here and I see the voltage going into the coil is 8.54 volts. And then I see that the voltage out of the coil is 0.386 volts because the coil does indeed go bad. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn on the iron and we are going to replace the coil. So let's get the air filter on. Let's turn the machine off. Let's get a donor board that has a coil. I'm not sure if I'm going to find one with a coil because it's such a common thing to have to fix when you have no backlight that it may just be missing from every single one of my donor boards. This one doesn't have a coil. This one doesn't have a coil. This one, nope, that doesn't have a coil either. Yeah, so we're just raking in money here, replacing backlight coils. Because you have to remember, folks, it's always the coil. So we're going to take off the little micro iron because the coil is it's a big coil. So if you're going to replace it, you need a big iron to do this big serious job. Okay. Okay, here we go. Good thing that screen plastic thingy is from the burned, broken-ass garbage screen that I'm using for testing. Since I almost burned the little black plastic piece from the ferocity of heat that's needed to replace the coil. The coil is now put down. And now we're going to get ready to place the new one. Now, as you can see, the coil over here was probably physically damaged or broken in some way because a piece of the coil is stuck to the board. Because the coil does indeed break. Because it can be the coil. So, we're going to... Okay. Just get myself ready for a nice new coil. And turn my JBC station back on. I was this close to pushing my monitor off of the desk. My $900 4K 60 hertz 40-inch screen. Great job, jackass. Then I would have a lot of coils to replace. Okay. Now, since that's a lot of solder on a component that requires a lot of heat, it's going to take a second or two to melt. So I'm going to keep my tweezers there. Now, a big problem I noticed that a lot of new people have been having with the tutoring service that I've been offering is they use their hot air, they put the component down, and here's the problem that a lot of people have. The second that they're done, the second that they take the hot air away, they take the tweezers away, which allows the component to move around because the solder itself is still molten. I keep my tweezer on there for a good 2 to 3 seconds when I'm done with the hot air, 5 to 10 seconds if it's a large component, so that the solder has a moment to dry. Here I just added some flux so that I could really make sure that I secure the coil on there. Okay, now the coil is now secured. Nice new, brand new OEM, ESD safe, Foxconn original, Apple certified coil is there. And now what do we get? So remember that these machines do, and every time you do an RTC reset, you have to wait for it to turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on. That is how the 3435, 3437 boards and newer ones work. And as you can see, I have a light on my beautiful screen. I have a, see this? That's a nice, pretty backlight on my cracked, fucked up ass screen that I use for testing purposes. See that? That's a light. And when I unplug it, the light goes away. And the reason that I have a working backlight on my screen is because I replaced the one component that can often be responsible for not having a backlight, as I've shown in previous videos, which I will link to, which is that the backlight coil was bad. I hope you learned something.